to Bill Flynn in the morning.
Good morning. And it's the Eagle Info Hour. It's the How About Loving Your Lawn Hour with the folks at GrowinGreen. And I use the term folks at GrowinGreen because that's exactly what we got. We got a crew in the room with us this morning. Now, you're used to hearing Jonathan Rigsbee, the TurfCommander. Good morning, Jonathan.
Good morning, Bill.
And welcome. You brought an entourage with you today, and you guys, I know, are headed out of town. We'll talk about why that is, but introduce who you brought with you.
Well, today we're going to have Tommy Calvert joining us, and the listeners are going to get to know Tommy over the next year. Tommy is one of our salespeople. He helps our commercial clients find solutions to their needs. He's also a very, very knowledgeable horticulturist in gardening, any kind of gardening, container, biological processes, and he's going to fill in for me some to help the listeners get some good information. We've got Scott Reese, who's our general manager, with us today. He's kind of filming this so we can put it up on the internet. And we've got Josh Bemis, who's one of our best field technicians, who actually goes out and takes care of the customers. He's the one that every time I run into a customer and they say, "Oh, I love that Josh. You get rid of Josh, I'm going to leave." So,
well, you can't be getting rid of Josh. He's over there on the quiet sofa waiting to, I don't know if, are you wanting to get on the microphone? He says, no, you don't want to get near the microphone. But it looks like Tommy doesn't mind being near a microphone.
Oh, I'm sure Tommy will have a lot to say.
Well, let me welcome you and say hello and welcome to our GrowinGreen Info Hour this morning. Tommy, good to see you.
Hey, great to see you guys. Thanks for having me.
When I was hearing about you through Jonathan, and he kind of described you as, I don't know, the yin to his yang, the alpha to his omega, that you guys are very different in a lot of ways.
Yeah, but that kind of plays on itself too, I guess. But we go back so many years, 25 years.
Oh, great.
When we first met at NC State in the turf department. We both worked for Dr. Richard White and on research at the Turfgrass Field Center, and just have known each other in the industry for years. Both of us were some of the first primo consultants. We went out and did demonstrations of this revolutionary new product, Primo, that will slow the grass down by 50%. We went out and did demos, and
we took it to the masses.
Well, that's great that you have a such an ongoing and it's a friendship. It's also a working relationship too, as well. So now I think it's important to say, how come all of these guys are together this morning? We got Tommy, we got Scott, we got Josh, we got Jonathan. You guys are literally en route, headed where?
We are headed to Louisville, Kentucky, to the Planet GIE Expo, which is the largest trade show for the green industry in North America. And it's actually the 6th largest trade show in the world.
And this is part of that ongoing education, always finding out what the new things are, the new offerings. Talk to me about that as a corporate policy for GrowinGreen. And I said of both of you too. So.
Well, one thing that we pride ourselves in is we feel like we have the most educated staff in the industry. You know, everybody, even down to, the lowest on the totem pole to the top, we all go through ongoing training throughout the year, whether it be locally through the Extension Service, going to North Carolina State Field Days. We take, trips like this in the little bit of the off season to Louisville to let some of the guys see how big the industry is, and also to learn new things, learn what's the cutting edge products that are coming out, how we can better serve our customers over the next couple of years, how we can improve the business, how we can make it more efficient, more green friendly, and just, kind of relax a little bit too and have a little fun. And
that is allowed, I'm sure, right?
It is.
Now, of the group here, who's going to have the most fun? That's what I want to know.
Me.
Scott. I'm sure it'll be Scott.
And Tommy, your view as well. These ongoing, continuing education is really what it is.
It is. You have to stay on top of the new technology coming out, the new products coming out, new equipment coming out. Try to stay ahead of the game. Mm-hmm. I mean, we pride ourselves in the training of the techs, training ourselves, looking for, now that we have this athletic field division that's growing, And we learn from that. We learn I think we learn something. I learn something new every day on this job.
Well, I'll tell you, I took a tour last week of the facility, and Jonathan, thanks for the guided tour. And I had no idea. I see the truck and everything's ready to go. And when Scott was joining me last week at the house, but unless you know where that comes from and the precision in this case of, the option of ingredients that you're going to bring, the mix of them is critical. The application is, all of these things are very, very critical, and that's some of the things you discuss at these seminars?
It is, and like you say, everything from the equipment we're using down to the nozzles that we pick for the guns to the hose that carries it through the lawn, everything's crucial to making the perfect application. We want to make sure that the customer is getting the best we can put out there, and one of the things that we're going to be doing is one of the biological products that we use. We'll be meeting with them tomorrow all day and training with their product, see how we can use it better. And then we'll have dinner with the owners of the company to talk about how we can strategize and work together to make GrowinGreen a more biologically friendly company.
I think it's interesting, too, that you are going to be, I think, as one of the featured instructors at least a portion of this seminar. Am I hearing that right? Is that part of what you're planning to do?
I think I was asked by default, but I will be sitting on a panel of experts where other lawn care and landscape companies can ask questions about our experience with the products, what we've learned from them, how to use them, how to make them work. I'll also be doing a television interview for about 30 minutes tomorrow about some of the products we're using, and that's going to be kind of interesting. That should show up on some infomercials for them and stuff. So it's a fun time, unique experience. And
I think it's great that here it is, GrowinGreen, a local company, for this seminar. This brings people from all over the country.
It actually brings them from all over the world.
Oh wow! And so the fact that you're there to help make the case for what you've learned, I think is a great thing, and you got to be proud of that too.
Oh, very proud. And, one of the things is Mother Nature's in charge. I mean, we're out there doing what we can,
yes,
and we're working with her. We're just assisting Mother Nature. And when we use a biological product like organics, that's what we're doing. We're just helping Mother Nature along. And we want to be as natural as possible. And that's kind of what we're learning from, that's the focus is to be more biological, to work with nature, and this, to set ourselves apart from all the others.
So you're not really trying to strong-arm nature into the way you think it ought to be. You're going to work with it. Yeah, because she'll win every time.
She will win.
We're going to take a quick break and come back, and we have with us in the house GrowinGreen, and the Turf Commander is Jonathan Rigsbee, and he's brought with him a good chunk of the command of Tommy and Scott and Josh. I'm Bill Flynn. We'll be back in just a moment.
Call now. The number is 896-1980, AM 980 The Eagle.
It's AM 980 The Eagle. It's the Love Your Lawn Hour with GrowinGreen, and 1-866-LAWN-HELP is the phone number for GrowinGreen. 1-866-LAWN-HELP, and you can also log on to the website anytime. It's a great resource if you're looking for information about really lawns, and not just generic information. And I think this is one of the keys that you've been so successful at. Jonathan Rigsbee, the Turf Commander, you talk about issues that really apply to the microclimates, even within my yard. When Scott was out there, he was talking about microclimates even within my relatively small yard, much less spread out over a few counties where you guys normally are found. The ability to tap into that is a great resource.
Well, and without the training and taking the guys and showing them, what the results are of the products and how the products work, it's hard for them to understand that. But you're right. Every lawn has a microclimate, sometimes 2 and 3. And where your front yard may be full sun, your backyard may be shade. And that's a totally different environment for the grass to grow in. And it may mean different grass type, different fertility. It totally changes the plan, and that's where we rely on these field technicians to make those changes when they get out there.
You know, the trip that you're taking to this seminar, I find it interesting that you're going to be talking about and sharing ideas of new technologies, new chemical compounds, natural, organic is your preference, of course. But can you talk a little bit about some of the things you've been to this seminar before in years past that have now shown up on your daily routine of work, either an application or a device that you found out about, or a technique?
Well, the first tanker that we ever bought was bought at one of these trade shows in Jacksonville, Florida. I think it was in 2002. Our very first cab-over Zuzu-style tanker, and that's when we started building the trucks, and that's what we used as the template to build our trucks from. And that was found at one of these shows. The Organics is another one that we researched, and a lot of times we'll go on and we'll find these products and we'll research them. Then we'll go to the shows and talk to the people who manufacture them, and really get a feel for the people behind the product, and not just the product and the label, because that's where you really know what you're getting.
Now, when I took the tour of your facility, you have this huge refrigerator. I mean, it's walk-in refrigerator doesn't quite say what it is, but you actually have temperature control that you have to maintain these ingredients for lawn application because they're biological in nature. And we've talked about it on the show, but to actually see it is quite an interesting thing, too.
It is, and I'll let Tommy kind of explain that whole process of why they're refrigerated and what the difference is between a refrigerated biological product and a non-refrigerated biological product.
Yeah, well, Organics is a living product. It's actually a living product, and it's kept refrigerated. And we have two, what they call RADs. It's a refrigerated automated device. And one is a 600-gallon, one's a 300-gallon. One of them's for lawns, and the other mixture is designed for for tree and shrub. Mm-hmm. And it's a little different because grasses are dominated by bacteria, where trees and shrubs are dominated more by fungi. And so that's the difference between the two. They're not that much different, but it's just a matter of a little tweaking to the ingredients.
But as a live and biological component, if you don't keep it cooled and you were to go to apply it to a client's lawn, it's not going to be effective, or it's going to break down.
Well, they say the Organics folks and a lot of Elaine Ingram, some of the most famous biological scientists out there who work to build soil. These folks will tell you that some of the dry products that are available on the market, only 5% is actually available to the plant. And you can put it on a shelf, add it to water. Yeah, it says it's mycorrhizae fungi, but there's only about 5% of it actually living, where we have 100% living there in the tank. That gets added, yeah.
And talk about how that actually plays into the benefit of the client and the results you're going to get with GrowinGreen that's different from anything else out there.
Well, we see it. It happens on the lawns. And I tell you what it does is when you apply this, you're building soil, you're applying living organisms to the soil. They're already there in number. We're just applying a lot more and introducing the food stuff that they need to survive and feeding the ones that are already there. And you just see it in the results. It's marvelous. It's really unbelievable the kind of results you get from using these biological products.
Yeah, when that truck goes out from GrowinGreen, is that a daily load up the chemicals, the compounds, the organics? Does that happen every day?
Oh yeah.
So you're refrigerating this, and the only time it's out of refrigeration is when it gets on the truck and is immediately taken out on the road within that window.
Yes, and we want to get it out within a 48-hour window. So we are very careful not to let it sit over the weekend, not to let it sit through rainstorms. We want to get it out while it's fresh, and that's the whole purpose. And the one thing that I want to kind of go back to what Tommy was saying, our whole purpose and what makes us different than a lot of our competitors is we are building the soil to support the plants, not supporting the plants in whatever they're growing in. And by building the soil and making it the way it should be, we reduce the inputs of fertilizer, pesticides, insecticides. Since we've gone to this process, we have saved about 125,000 pounds of fertilizer a year. And that, to me, is remarkable that that's not going back into the environment, into the waterway. And our lawns look better. We've gotten better results with less inputs.
We have a caller has a question for us. You want to put those headphones on, Jonathan, and share them a little bit with Tommy. Yeah, Jeff, good morning. Real quick, if you have a question for us here at Growing Green.
Yeah, morning. I just want to thank you guys. You guys came out on September 30th, did a great job. Grass is growing nice, and now I have an understanding of what you just said about the grass growing slower, so I'm keeping my eye on it.
Wow, that's great. September 30th you got out there, and you've already got some results showing up. Good to hear. Thanks for that moment of testimonial. Nothing works like hearing from somebody in the real world about the work that you're doing. And we're going to continue with the Love Your Lawn Hour, Growing Green, and GrowinGreen.com. I'm Bill Flynn. We'll be back in just a bit.
Call now. The number is 896-1980, AM 980 The Eagle.
Good morning. It's 9:36, 24 minutes till 10 o'clock. We're joined this morning with the Love Your Lawn Hour and Growing Green, and it's GrowinGreen.com, GrowinGreen.com, and the phone number is 1-866-LAWN-HELP. I thought it was great. In the last segment, we just heard from a customer of yours at September 30th. You were out there, and he's already seen some results from the seeding and the work that you did. That's exciting to hear when you hear from a happy customer that way, I would think. Isn't it?
It is, and that's the best, advertisement we could ever hope for. And really, the best thing that we like to hear is that customers are happy. And, and a message back to Jeff, if you do have any problems or any spots that aren't coming up, give us a call. We'll come back at no charge and retouch them up. And that's one of the reasons our seedings work the way they do, is we build in those follow-ups. Because we know that when we do a seeding, we're going to have areas wash. We're going to have areas that don't come up. But we'll come back at no charge, retouch them up. We'll keep working with him till that lawn's where he wants it.
It's so clear to you, but I think it does bear some discussion for maybe the way you run a business. You're talking about a business where you're directly involved with that homeowner on a routine basis. And you can know, Tommy, you can know everything there is to know about lawns in this part of the country, but you still have to be able to work with that customer, and talk to me a little bit about those relationships you see with the folks you have at Growing Green.
Hey, customer service is what it's all about. And our name is the main thing that we have. It's really what we have, and we pride ourselves in the customer service end of this. They play a role. I mean, they're very important. They have to work with us too. I mean, they have to do their part in order for this.
And what
to
are
work.
some of the parts that customers really need to be ready to engage with to get the best results working with Growing Green, getting the lawn and the look that they desire? What are some of the expectations you have of customers too?
That's love your lawn, and we want them to love their lawn. If they do, watering is key. I mean, really, helping to water helps a lot. Their mowing, the way they mow the grass, whether they bag it or not. We don't necessarily recommend bagging clippings, but if you do, that's something that you keep it a little cleaner, I guess, but you're not returning the nutrients to the lawn. We try to educate the folks.
And in your experience too, what are some of the first things we do incorrectly? Is it, the lawn level, and we've talked about some of them with Jonathan previously, but the mower level cut, those kinds of things.
Cut, yeah. I mean, it's important. We actually give out these rulers at trade shows, Growing Green rulers, and it shows the height you should be mowing tall fescue and the height you should be mowing Bermuda and zoysia, and it's a good little education.
Are most people surprised at how long you should let your lawn grow? I mean,
it does blow some people's minds. I mean, we've got some customers out there with tall fescue lawns, and they're trying to mow it at 1 inch, and that's a no-no. And they wonder why things aren't working like they want.
But I think, and Jonathan has helped us understand along the way a little bit here, this is an ongoing project. It's a program where you get on and you, over time, you bring the soil up.
Yep,
you work with that client to see that their care of the lawn is getting the maximum results based on the investment that they've made with you.
Exactly. And like I said before, there's no one-hit wonders. It's a system. It's a process. What we tell people is they'll see improvement every time we come out, but it's got to build on each other, and it's got to keep building. And you had asked earlier, what was the number one thing that, we see that people do, and it's not following through. It's, going and putting all this investment into having a seeding done, not watering it, not keeping the leaves off, not mowing it. Then we get out into the spring and they call and say, well, I got bare spots. Well, we can't do anything to help you at that point because it's time to do pre-emergent. And people just don't see out a year from now and next August. And that's kind of what we focus on. And that's our job, is to look and say, what are we doing now that will affect the spring, next summer, and a year from now? And that's really the biggest thing, is just sticking with the system.
I noticed at our yard, and certainly around this part of the country, we get a lot of moisture, early morning dew, and those kinds of things. Is that critically important for the health of the lawn, and something you have to factor in the time of the year, the season, the amount of moisture, even if we're not getting rain per se?
Well, it definitely helps. It helps with seed germination, and it does help, give the plant a little bit of moisture, but it's not going to be detrimental one way or the other. Now, the one thing that is detrimental and brings up a good point is frost. We're getting close to the frost season, and when you have frost out on the ground and you walk on it, where there's frost on the grass, it's gonna kill those blades that you walk on, and it's kind of like having a icicle inside the plant, and when you step on it, it sends that icicle through the cell, and it destroys the cells inside the plant. That's why golfers this time of year will see that the greens are closed until 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock. If you've got frost, it's best to stay off your grass, wait till the frost kind of goes away, and that will dramatically help improve your grass getting through the winter. Because if you walk on your lawn, do it to the neighbor you don't like. But next time you have a frost, walk through their lawn, and then a couple of days later, you'll see your footprints where the grass has died.
I didn't realize it was that profoundly sensitive.
Oh, yeah.
At frost time. Now, as you're hearing this discussion, what's going through your mind, too?
There's
Tommy?
something to be said about keep off the grass signs. I've made one. I've got one in my garage that I bring out this time of year, after I do my seeding. And I hammer that sucker into the ground right there, because Halloween's coming. And those kids are going to be running across the lawn, and so it's good to kind of protect your lawn.
Is there a sense that you'll get a little more reward at the trick or treat window if you observe the sign that say "keep off the grass"?
Oh yeah, it's kind of haunting in a way, but you want to get these. You want to keep the kids off the lawn. We try to get everybody's lawn up and running by Halloween. I think that's kind of like what I tell a lot of folks earlier on, like in August, when they're considering doing a seeding with us. And like John said earlier, it's like we're thinking ahead. And even when we're signing somebody up in July, hey, they have nothing but crabgrass right now. What can you expect by, say, Halloween or Thanksgiving?
And I'd like to continue that thought. We're going to take a quick break and come back and look for some of those markers of expectations, what you should expect, and by what window that may be available to the client. Coming up on The Eagle.
Call now. The number is 896-1980. AM 980 The Eagle.
Good morning. It's 9:46, 14 before 10 o'clock. Bill Flynn this morning. We have the GrowinGreen and Love Your Lawn Hour unfolding. You guys are headed to really a world-class seminar. And again, where's that destination?
We are driving to Louisville, Kentucky.
That's not bad. I was born in Kentucky, and I'm sure they're so proud of their horse racing and bluegrass and their whiskey, the best in the world. I was
getting ready to say, we're headed there. We've got a few stops at the Woodford Reserve Distillery to check out, get some gift bottles for some people.
Simply a matter
and
of,
I hope we plan on making it.
Priorities, though, have to come.
I think it's important that you take in the fullness of the virtue of wherever it is you're visiting.
But one year we did kind of get off the highway and saw the horse farms, and it's incredible.
It is beautiful. Isn't it?
We saw a farm that was pointed out to us that it's the Prince of Saudi Arabia's farm, and it was just incredible. And he comes in once or twice a year, and we'll spend a couple $100,000 just in the local economy, buying stuff, sending it back, taking people out to dinner, and it's a whole different climate up there. Different, great town, great people, but it's all built around those horses.
It is big, and there's some basketball that goes on there that's pretty impressive too.
If you say so.
But before the break, we were talking about some of those markers through time where if you're doing the seeding now, we heard from a customer of GrowinGreen, September 30th you were out there. He's already starting to see some improvement in his lawn. What are some, and Tommy, if you'll handle this question for us, Tommy Cowett with GrowinGreen, what are some of those markers you shoot for, and is a reasonable expectation for your customers as we go through these very seasons?
Well, as I said earlier, if we're signing somebody up, or like John said, we're thinking ahead, 3 months at least ahead. So if we're signing somebody up in July and they're full of crabgrass, weeds, what their expectations would be by Halloween. That's going to be, we're right in the window right now of seeding season, and it's closing, where we're still getting optimum germination right now. So, but once that falls off, it takes longer for the seed to germinate. It just takes longer. So
now, is there still time to do that? And is there any available manpower to do seeding and aeration with GrowinGreen right now?
Right now, absolutely. We're still in a really good window for germination. However, frost is approaching, and after we start getting soil temperatures down in the 60s, right now they're still up in the 70s, and they're falling. Once they get down into the lower 60s, you're probably going to fall off by, say we're getting 89% germination right now. That's from the seed tag. Seed has 89% germination or 98% germination. It's going to start falling off down to 80, down to 75. You might have to put out more seed in order to get the same
And this
result.
is all soil temperature related? As the soil temperature drops, you have that lower germination rate.
Yep, you will. Now, eventually it will come up, and usually it comes up in spring. Yeah. So you could tell some folks by March, say end of March and on early April, some of that grass seed that you put out in December, that's when it's going to finally pop. And if you've got a lot of it out there, you could have a lot of very spindly, weak grass seedlings. So it's going to take some time through that season to kind of thin itself out to the optimum level. There really is. We're dealing with a population of plants. It's like people. You can't overpopulate or you end up with some disease issues, I mean, it's really how you could look at society, and there are things mirrored there in the lawn, in the sward, as they call it.
So as the homeowner, we're kind of the king of the world so far as your lawn is concerned. I think a lot of people innately understand that. But I'd also like to look at, maybe a tip of the week as we're closing out the program here. And Jonathan Rigsbee with GrowinGreen, if you would, the one tip that they would kind of leave us with on this program for this day and this time for us.
Well, the biggest thing, and like we talked about, the lawn season never really ends in North Carolina. And we see a lot of people who, as soon as they kind of get to the October, they put everything away, they don't look back. But we see a lot of lawns die from desiccation through the wintertime, where it gets really, really dry and brittle, and there's no moisture in the ground, and you get the frost injuries. So your lawn needs about an inch of water a week year round. And so I would, just say don't forget, if we're not getting rain, and usually there's enough, to go out and water that lawn at least once a week. Keep the leaves off of it. Keep mowing it until it just totally shuts down, and just keep doing what you're doing up until the wintertime really gets here.
I think a lot of folks might be surprised at the idea that this still needs watering in some cases. If we end up with a dry spell in late fall, early winter, you still need to give that lawn some watering.
You do, and the roots are still growing, and that's the thing you have to remember. They're protected in the soil, so the ambient air temperature is going to be a few degrees higher than the soil temperature. And you want to keep those roots wet, keep them protected, and, water's a good insulator from the frost and the freezing, and it helps protect the root system.
You mentioned leaves a moment ago. I was just reading about a situation where, and it underscores the point, where up in the northeast of the country, leaves on the railroad tracks are a real problem because they ultimately will deposit in oil if they're left, and they have to clean them off, and ultimately they have to clean the rails off. Otherwise, the train won't stop or won't move as well. It's not just getting that leaf off the ground, but also, not letting it build those oils onto the surface. Is that part of what you're looking at?
Well, the biggest thing, and I haven't seen that really be a detriment to turf. Turf is a very hardy plant, all in all. It can take a lot. The biggest thing is it's blocking the sunlight. Your grass needs sunlight to germinate. It needs that sun going into the wintertime to keep going. So when you've got leaves sitting on top, it's blocking that sunlight. It's also creating kind of an environment for fungus to grow. We do have funguses that grow in the winter. We see winter kill, we see winter patch on zoysia. So we see spring death spot on Bermuda grass. So there's a lot of things that can happen in the winter, but really the cultural practices will eliminate 99% of that.
And what about the concerned homeowner says, listen, I've just done some seeding in the last week. Now I got some leaves. Am I going to suck up all the seed and the nutrients when I take the leaves up? I mean, is this something you can advise us on, Tommy?
Oh, yes. You've got to be careful about blowing your leaves too hard, or say you freshly seeded it. You can blow them out. And we tell most folks after we do a seeding not to mow it for at least 2, maybe 3 weeks, till you get some germination of the seed. We work the seed into the soil when we do a typical seeding, and that way it protects it. So it's really not so much that it's going to get blown away, but you don't want the leaves on the lawn. You want to suck them up any way you can, blow them off. If you've got a bagging mower, that's a great time to use it. And I recommend making compost out of those leaves. Don't throw your leaves away. The municipalities are taking people's leaves and making money off of them.
Yeah, to sell it right back to us, I know. So a little compost pile in the backyard's a good idea.
Oh, yeah. And if you can mix those leaves, which would be your browns in composting, and mix them with some grass clippings, then you've got yourself, an 80-20 mix of leaves to grass clippings. You got yourself a great recipe for great compost that you can add to your plants or even top dress your lawn with. And just keep this ongoing. I mean, it's a great sustainable way to deal with your leaves, and everybody should use it in their gardens. I mean, it's something we could talk about in the future, but leaves are very valuable, and they need to be returned to the soil, not just hauled to the municipal dump and let the city make money on them.
As we're, again, about ready to send you guys down the road to Kentucky for the trade show, what are you going to look for at this show, and ultimately, how will it benefit clients, do you think? Is there a couple things in particular you'd like to mention?
Well, we're going, like I said, we're going to be sitting all day tomorrow at the Organics Institute at their Bionutritional Summit. They've got world-class PhDs coming from Iowa State, NC State, all over the country to talk to us and explain how everything works, kind of the new research. They're continually testing these products and seeing new things. So that's going to be exciting. Also, we're looking at a lot of mapping software, better ways for the technicians to be more efficient. We talked about our health insurance going up, $10,000 next year thanks to Obamacare, and we got to figure out a way to do it.
Well, listen, if anybody can do it, I'm sure the brain trust that we have here this morning can help make it work. And I want to thank, as always, Jonathan Rigsbee, a TurfCommander with GrowinGreen, joining us, and Tommy Cowett, who we'll hear more from in the future here. And also, Josh, good to have you in the room with us this morning. Scott, good to have you. And hello to Kevin and Thomas, who helped me out at my lawn. It's growinggreen.com, 1-866-LAWN-HELP.